everyone. My name is Tash. I'm the program director with No More Under, and today we are really excited to be joined with Tankproof for our Learn More series for August. We also have our amazing founder Shazak with us because this month we're going to sort of tap into two different conversations. We'll just see where it takes us, but August is both Black Business Month and also National Wellness Month. So a lot of different tracks we can take here, but I'd love to hand it over to Tankproof for a moment, just so that you can introduce the amazing work that you're doing. Well, and I should say it's not just Tankproof, because you will have another business as well, and because everyone's hustling on here. So I'd love for you to share all of it. Share who
all right.
you are.
So before I introduce myself, I'll introduce our amazing operations lead, Krystal Frame. She is dealing with real life right now. Two out of the three of our leadership team have kids. So two out of three of them are dealing with their kids right now. And ain't nothing wrong with that, because we love family over here at Tankproof. But without I wanted to introduce her because without Krystal, we cannot do what we do. And she is the centerpiece around the cog that our wheel kind of rolls around. You know what I mean? So we're definitely grateful for her and her amazing work that she does here at Tankproof. My name is Torrance Thomas, one of the co-founders of Tankproof. And for those that don't know about Tankproof focuses on giving swimming lessons to kids and communities who need it most. We've been doing it since 2011. I have the pleasure of starting this organization with another guy named Thurman Thomas, my twin brother, who's handling his child right now too, with a 5-week-old and a 3-year-old himself right now that's ready for bedtime. So if you can imagine, but my brother and I, we started out, 11 years ago. We were artists and musicians by trade, and wanted to do something to give back to our community. We thought that selling band merch to help pay for swim lessons would be a good idea. And 11 years later, we found ourselves, helping to lead the charge in the fight for equity in the world and space of aquatics. So glad to be here with No More Under. Thank y'all so much, Shazak and Tosh, for the amazing, experience that we've had. We've worked together with them a few months ago in Seattle, and it was an absolute dream. So I'm sure we'll talk about that and, all kind of other stuff on this call, but grateful to be here. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And again, like, your work helped inspire me. Like we were just kind of saying, seeing other people uplift and doing things, it just shows you that you can do it too, in a sense, and that you can kind of further the thing, whatever your thing is. So I'm Shazak Sonoda, the founder of No More Under, and very similarly, we are working towards equitable access, and also in the education space, legislation space for, water safety all around. And we started this organization in 2019. So we are like baby in the mix. So you understand, like, seeing you all and your lessons and everything that you were doing was incredibly inspiring. And we just like work really to partner with people who are like-minded and have similar goals, and ultimately, get the job done. And as we were kind of saying, like, getting the job done looks a lot different on the outside, than it does on the inside. And so I'm just curious, like, you all started in 2011, like, what does that look like? Because I feel like for me, just even since I've been in the water safety space, have some of these statistics really been brought to light, So I just think even fighting for what needs to be there, that's just a lot. And you all also, do food, as well. Yeah, food security. So I'm curious, like, what your early days looked like, just.
All right. And this is interesting because, like, it's cool because, I talk to Krystal about this all the time. I don't get to think back that often because we're always so, progressive naturally in our mindsets. We're always looking what's next. But it's always good to take some time to pause and to look back and see, where we've come from. So I'm thinking back early on, our first couple of days, first couple of years, man, it was hard because you knew you had, and it's weird because you knew you had something, there was a direct need. You knew there was a need. Obviously, you knew the need was ever. You knew Black people don't swim like that, especially where we were in the South. So everything I've learned about business says, like, yeah, if there's a need, then if there's nobody that's catering to that need, if you can handle and take care of that need, you can make a lot of impact. And so what we found was that nobody was really catering to this need back then in 2011. We didn't even, honestly, Shayzik, and I think it was our naivety was the biggest part about that, our naivety and our ability to just, get it done. And we weren't really aware of like the social barriers or even just the organizational barriers that might have been even on the aquatics world side. We didn't know how much of an issue it was. We just knew that, hey, somebody needed to help get this done. And for us, that was the biggest challenge, is not knowing in the beginning. Our ignorance, our naivety was our greatest weapon, but also our ignorance was one of our biggest hurdles at the same time, because we didn't have an intent to start a nonprofit organization. This is just a good idea that we wanted to help some kids, which is great at first, but I think it should have been a little bit more balanced. Like, if we would have had greater intent to say, well, look, let's see how long we can do this, as opposed to this is just a great idea, let's do it once or twice, then I think we would have kind of got to where we are now, maybe faster. But I think it starts with the purpose. It starts with the intent to want to do something right. But those early days, there was a lot of hitting our heads and a lot of bumping our heads and a lot of not knowing how this stuff goes, because you're learning the aquatics world and how the swim school systems work and that culture itself, that whole niche world. And then you have just business in the nonprofit world in general that we're just trying to have to learn how to do at the same time. Like, I didn't, I'm a musician and artist. I didn't really have plans to become a nonprofit CEO. So that was hard. That was hard. And a lot of that, and then, we were young. Biggest challenge too, we were 20, 21, 22. And it was like, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just doing, but at the same time, it was, it was the early days, because you don't know, it's challenging, but because you don't know can also be a great weapon at the same time, because we weren't stopped by a lot of the issues that might've been more prevalent to people that were in the aquatics world. So I will say that.
That's it. And I think that it is too, like, you're nimble in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you're just like, you have this vision and goal, you want to get it in and get it done. And you don't have this like corporate structure. I remember when we started, like, one of the local hospitals was like, hey, we want you to come under us, and then someone from the hospital ended up coming to one of our board meetings and was like, y'all are moving so much faster than you could ever move if you came under us. And so then
we slowed down.
Right. That's right. No, but I think it's, you touched on just the passion, like when you have that purpose and it's for a reason. And did one of you nearly drown? Is that right? Is that the story?
So that's what kind of, it's one of the factors that inspires. There's two things that kind of sparked our, this idea. One of them was years ago, before we even had the experience that I did to do Tankproof, my brother, when we were around 10, he had a near drowning experience. And our mom after that was like, okay, we're not playing basketball this season. Y'all are getting swim lessons. You know what I mean? So it was, she made it a priority, to make sure that we had it. And fast forward to 2011, there was an incident that, shook the whole state. There was a family. They were all family members. There's 6 individuals that drowned in one setting. And they looked like us. And so that got us on the trail of, okay, dang, we know the stereotypes. Google's the stereotype, Black people don't swim. Shocked and appalled at the stats. Oh my God. Then we're like, okay, let's try to do something about that. But those things were definitely the catalyst between, what had happened in the news during that time. And then my own brother's personal experience were definitely huge factors to fuel us getting started with Tankproof.
That's amazing. I don't want to keep, like, I could just keep talking here, but Tosh, if you have something else to say, I'll keep. Okay.
No, it's so incredible. And it part of, being involved in these organizations where you're fighting and trying to make change and changing the statistics. That reminds me of one of the Tankproof shirts. I'm pretty sure, don't you all have a shirt that says like think to the stats? Yeah.
That's our motto, man. That's our mantra right there. Yeah. That's the mantra. That's our goal. That's why we're here. We're here to sync the stats. You know what I'm saying? These numbers got to go down.
Totally.
And once these numbers start reducing, we're going to start to see, okay, our work is actually impacting on the scale that we want to.
Yeah, 100%. And so I remember that Sync the Stat saying, because one of you were wearing it on your shirt when we worked together. So No More Under and Tankproof, we did a 5-day learn to swim program in Rainier Beach, and it was awesome. I still watch the video that was created and just get goosebumps. It was such an incredible experience.
Can't wait to go back, man.
Yeah, I know. We'll get you guys out next summer. But a huge part of that, when we touched base with families after, and the feedback was just so positive and amazing. A really powerful thing that came out of that was that some of these kids saw you guys, they saw themselves. They saw themselves because you're Black, and that was huge. And the children were identifying with you. And it happened that one of the days, I'm not sure if you remember, but one of the lifeguards was Black as well. And that was huge to have.
I was like, yeah, man, it's so good to see you out here.
Yeah, totally. It's a big thing. We need to make swimming, the aquatic space, more diverse. And so I'm curious your experiences with, you and your brother deciding to make your way into the aquatic world. What was that experience like?
Man, it was rough at first, and it's still, we still have certain kind of tensions with, specifically like swim schools sometimes too, because they see us in a certain way sometimes as a direct competitor to them. And we get along with swim schools pretty well sometimes, but then we've had instances in the past when people just like, they'll end up changing our deal up once we figure out we're serving this amount of kids, or, so that's when we try to kind of get smart to kind of protect ourselves too, because, we will, so two things happen. Either we will, get the short end of the stick that way, and they'll change up our contract or our deal, or they feel like they're shorted some kind of way, or we'll get used on the other end of like a PR stunt or something like that. And they'll just be like, oh yeah, we're partnering with Tankproof, and like, they're really not doing anything. And they want the news more than anything else. So we've had a few instances like that in the aquatics world and in just the regular, nonprofit space. That just, you got to be smart about, protecting yourself, especially, because right now it is in vogue to be a Black in anything is just hot right now. So we're grateful for the opportunity to shine more light on, Black businesses, and especially the work that we're doing. But you got to be smart, because people are out there actively trying to use you and to play you. And so it's for us, we've encountered that a lot, Tosh. We've encountered put it like this: it's easier for me to do a swim session in Brooklyn, New York than it is in Gonzales, Louisiana. Now, I won't say why those reasons are, but I think we can think about numerous reasons why that is, and to me, it's just insane about, the difficulty that we have to go through, especially in a lot of our southern states that we have to go through. And it is a big difference. It's easier for me to partner with the city of Seattle than it is the city of Austin, Texas. It took me 2 years to get this deal done in Austin, Texas. 2 years. Yeah. And when Seattle, it was just like that. They gave us access to pools and it was nothing. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Where you are geographically, race does have a factor, and it plays into it either subconsciously, I think, or consciously. Even if people aren't aware, it's just the processes of everything is just so much slower. And the mindsets are, a little bit slower to adapt as well.
No, for sure. It's one of those things where representation matters, and people are slowly understanding that it is impactful, but I just don't know always the intention, as you kind of said. There's an understanding there, and I think people are trying, and I'm one of those people, and I feel like you guys are too. We always want to see the best in people.
Leave positive intent. It doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
Right? Like I always think that, but it is, I look at these as much as possible as teachable moments, when we are working with people that don't understand. And we've gotten quite a bit of pushback, just in saying, hey, you know what, we are working towards equitable access. And some people like that and some people don't. And it's like legit the stats. I'm like, I have nothing to do with what these statistics are. They've been this way. It's because of, racism and segregation. That's, it's all historical.
Many factors that were out of our control.
They're out of our control. And now all we're doing right now is, similarly is, again, just trying to change the statistics where they matter most. And so I do think that that's been just huge working with you. We have another swim school where the owner is of color as well. And again, people seeing each other, having that community, it makes it a bit more welcoming. And again, it just takes down some of that barrier that we do have of fear, you know, as people of color. And I do love as well, just the whole wellness piece, that it is, you know, Wellness Awareness Month as well, because, oh my gosh, swimming is so like beautiful and amazing. And like,
so beneficial in every single way, mentally and physically. It's emotionally, you know how it is. I'm preaching to the choir with that one.
It is. It's crazy. I didn't know though. There's so many things for me that I didn't realize, you know, until you really get in and you really start researching and uncovering these things. And it's just like an onion peeling off where, you know, whether that's the statistics or like, oh, swimming like increases your brain cells or something. I'm just like, what? Like, so I think it's all, yay, Krystal.
You won, huh? You won that fight, huh?
Still fighting that. It's like, it's funny because it's 8 o'clock here. So like completely different mind meld.
Right?
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you're here. And have you started school yet? Luckily, all this is edited, so we have a little moment to breathe and introduce here and all that. But have school started out there?
They actually don't start for another 2 more weeks.
Oh, okay. Same. Okay.
Yeah.
My kids are still going to bed hella late. Like, I gotta adjust.
We ain't going to bed till 3 a.m. Yeah.
Legit.
Playing that Fortnite.
Ready. Yeah. Ready for it.
But yeah, so we were kind of talking about representation mattering and like some of the struggles of just, you know, being owners and, you know, company of color and some of the struggles there. So if there's anything you want to add there, we can like.
Yeah, because I don't want her to sell herself short either, Krystal. Tell them about everything that you do, the amazing work that you do.
I do way too much.
Amazing brands and brought experiences all over the country, literally, to people that it's meant to educate them, open their mind. I'm not going to tell you. You tell them. You go. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what's so unique too about like our I guess partnership as a team with Tankproof. Like a lot of what I come from background-wise isn't necessarily aquatics focused. A lot of what I focus on is societal issues and environmental justice issues through my work with these guys, as well as my own personal company where I create storytelling events and experiences to talk a lot about the issues that are really heavy and really brought down by, you know, facts and statistics, and create like educational tools for people to feel a little bit more empathetic in a way that they can relate to their own personal experience. Because I feel like that's a lot of times where we want to educate people, but we forget everyone comes from a different lived experience. And it's really hard to identify what the exact right conversation is to be had to really make people care. So I think that really helps me work with Tankproof in a way that I can see this storytelling component that the brothers are bringing to our work, and also amplify other ways we could be more intentional and like impactful. Like, you know, we said earlier with the food, we do a lot of interactive activations. I don't think that, you know, nonprofits obviously are really heavy mission driven organizations, but there is a lot of intersects that can happen. And I think that's what, you know, we can bring to people's mindsets if they want to start their own nonprofits or mutual aids. It's like the box is not as small as it really is. And as much as the work can be hard, there's a lot of opportunity for you to be creative and feel inspired to keep doing it. Because of course, as we all know, this work is really hard, and it's one of those things you have to get yourself up in the morning and be like, let's do this again. Yeah. So I think that's really important too, to bring to like the awareness of inequities in nonprofit spaces, especially for people of color run organizations, because historically, most mutual aids organizations were run by BIPOC community leaders. And I think a lot of that shows proof that they didn't need a 501c3 to get the things done that they needed done. And people really didn't give them the, you know, notoriety for their hard work. And I think, you know, that something I always even reference is like the information that I learned about the Black Panthers in school completely missed the opportunity to talk about their work in like the local communities of Chicago, like providing 1,300 to 3,000 meals a week for kids, and that's straight up mutual aid right there. But nobody knows, like, people are just now understanding the term mutual aid, and I'm like, I'm actually having a meeting with somebody this week because they're like, I want to talk more about mutual aids because nobody really understands what they are. And the same thing with nonprofits. The brothers are like learning this from scratch. So
there's no rules. It's crazy. There needs to be some kind of resource or some kind of, we were talking about this, Krystal, because like we were definitely talking about this because nobody really, like, the rules are hard, and like we're like, oh my gosh, it's insane. But I think I saw some kind of crazy stat and I was about to Google it, but the number of nonprofit organizations in this country that are actually ran by BIPOC leaders, which is even smaller. It's an even crazier, minority. And it's something that, like you said, Krystal, I think if people were, in kind of like our personal anecdotal story too, I didn't know how to do no nonprofit. I just, just figured out, hey, we used fiscal partners at first. We partnered with an organization that was already incorporated. We got people to donate to them. We use that money. Like, do the work first. I would, if anyone is interested in, serving their community, just serve. All right. Now, if you get it organized enough to, create, some kind of incorporation or organization or any 501c, it'll call for that on its own, but just do the work. I think people, they get too caught up with the formalities most of the time too. Now, I'm not saying don't learn the rules and don't do crazy stuff. It makes sense, keeping reason, but it is much easier to do good and than people think it is. And, they would rather watch somebody else. Well, that's one thing we talk about, Krystal, too, as well. It's like, most people would rather just join something. You know what I mean? So if you are one of those people that are inspired to do something, you're not going to be by yourself. If you do it enough, most people, if you are doing good work, will want to join you in it. So yeah, be courageous.
It's also to tie in the wellness factor too, which is funny with this type of work. A lot of people don't understand the mental strain that it puts on you. Like, in all people, I have tons of friends that work for nonprofits, various harm reduction, different things like that. And a lot of them have a lot of mental issues because they're just stressed out from work every single day. I even had, my brothers even know, I had my first panic attack during one of our activations because I was just like so overwhelmed and I didn't know how to like compartmentalize or like, obviously think in the moment what was bothering me. And I actually had to speak with another friend of mine who's a founder of a nonprofit to really like pick at the pieces of why this was. And it was amazing because, again, she's a founder of a nonprofit and she would sign me up for a sound bath therapy session. Again, it's like all of us kind of understand like the heavy workload. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of times people forget that people that are doing this on the ground work, the mental strain and like inability to take self-care moments for
People
yourself.
realize there's no finish line with this work most of the time. We won't see it maybe in our lifetimes most of the time. So it's work that, again, if you aren't passionate about people and about making change in communities, it can be demoralizing at times because the change is incremental, but it is impactful.
It is. I actually sent an email to our No More Under team the other day because, when you're in this space and you're seeing that statistic, oh my gosh, the number one reason that kids under 5 drown is pass away is because of drowning. When you're seeing this day in and day out, it is challenging. And a lot of, sometimes you're in work mode, things just become numbers. They're not quite as personal. For example, we're launching another Learn to Swim program next week. And, I was building the schedule and I was like trying to get the siblings to be in the same session and trying to make sure everyone's schedules. And so I'm looking at my Excel sheet, their names. I know it's going to be impactful, but I'm sort of caught up in that moment of just looking at things as numbers. And then a mum called me and it like makes me want to cry talking about it. I sent my team the email. This mum called me. It was a Seattle number that I didn't know, so I answered, assuming it would be someone saying, yes, sorry, I forgot to confirm. Yes, we'll be at lessons. Thought it'd be a 5-minute call. It turned into a 30-minute call. This woman shared with me that, yes, she is confirming the space for her kids. She's Black. Her kids are Black. She's tried for years to get into swimming lessons and has just hit financial barriers every time. That she has a family friend in Seattle that did lose a Black child to drowning, and that now there's fear in her family, and she's tried so hard to be proactive and get them into lessons and she couldn't, and she was sharing this with me, and it was just such a powerful moment because though all of those names count. Every single name. If it's 10 names, or we're actually supporting 50 next week, which is amazing. But like thank you. Yeah, we're super pumped. But every name counts, and every name we're changing a life. And that is the things that, you know, as challenging as these spaces are, in terms of what we face and the things we're dealing with are very serious, of course, but I think that we get some of the most beautiful moments too. We get those moments that you guys have had in the pool. I know when you've had those kids have that moment where it clicks, or when you get it's the coolest feeling. Or when you get a phone call like this mother gave me last week, and at the end, she couldn't stop saying, thank you, bless you, thank your work, bless your organization. Like that's life-changing for that family, you know, and those are the positives that come out of challenging work, but we're changing lives.
Yeah, it makes such a huge difference. I had that same story with an activation we did. We had a restaurant like fill out on us like a week before, and then we like pulled together somehow some food. And like by the fourth store I went to, a woman answered and said, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Our SNAP benefits went out a couple of days ago, and we have 4 kids. And like I was just like, see, this is why I fight so hard for these activities.
This is why we do these things.
Yeah. And this is why I harp on people.
You have to tap into those moments though, because they're few and far between, because it is, you know, the work that it takes to get to those moments. And it is often thankless. So when you do see the children, you see, you know, a mother, you see a family that you've impacted like that, you really do have to take that moment to breathe that in, because it helps keep you motivated and inspired, you know, because
it's beautiful.
Thank you for that, Tosh.
There's actually something that I sent to the brothers. It was a TED talk about a gentleman talking about nonprofit founders as well, and a sense of like, the system works against you in many ways, where he had created this analogy where he mentioned somebody going to school for a business degree could either choose to go work for a for-profit industry or could choose to work for a nonprofit, obviously benefiting the community, taking a pay cut. So say that person decides to go to the for-profit industry, decides to make $300,000 a year, he could return $100,000 of that back to that nonprofit he had thought about working at. In turn, he receives a tax deduction, as well as he could potentially be on the board, reap the rewards, and still be making more money than the gentleman that decided to go the other way. And it's crazy, because I mean, that applies to like, how do you keep getting people to keep fighting for your initiative? And the partners that we work with, like we continually are like, this is such a simplified issue in our brain. Like, I don't get why it's not connecting the dots to you.
I think that was something, you know, even when I started the organization, I was honestly hesitant because there's so much out there. Like, I consider that the cancer, human trafficking, like just all of it, like everybody has a thing, but it doesn't necessarily make our thing any less relevant. And, you know, it's an issue. And as you said earlier, you know, Torrance, is that there is a need. And when there's a need, you know, someone has to fill it. So I'm just grateful for, again, you all and other organizations like ours that continue to do the hard work and just continue to inspire. It's like we push each other. And so it's just a beautiful thing.
I say we fight more for camaraderie in the nonprofit space as well, because that sometimes doesn't happen. Even for the fact that people are all fighting for similar things, it's kind of crazy. You know, a lot of times it can get competitive, and it, you know, I think this is a perfect example of like camaraderie.
And that's like what we want to express, especially in this space too, because like, you know, as our organization specifically, we can't do what we do without partnering with other organizations. Yeah. And so just knowing that this fight is not one person, not one organization, not one entity's fight alone, but if we all can work together, just like we're doing right now, we can actually make a broad stroke, because we can really make some change, you know what I mean? Because like you said, it is one-to-one. Most of this work is one-to-one. It's very personal. And but if we get everybody doing it, we can get more organizations on board, more people in different communities on board. Because I'm like that too. I tell Krystal, like, it ain't gotta be, we ain't gotta be everywhere. We ain't gotta be, hell no, we ain't gotta be everywhere. That's a whole nother headache to be everywhere. You know what I mean? It's great to inspire other people and help them get set up, and you know, you do that, and yeah, we all for it. We're all for it. So I love that, Krystal. But yeah, you're right. Collaboration amongst organizations is key, especially to solve these very complex issues, because they didn't come up overnight, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, the water barriers have been there a long time in this country, and they're continuing to express themselves. But we're slowly changing it. Slowly, we're getting there.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I don't want to necessarily keep this going for too long. I'm going to start that over, but unless someone else has something else to say, I'll do like a little closing that we can then edit together. Does that feel good?
Feels good.
That's perfect.
All right, cool. Yeah, thank you so much for just taking the time. As always, it's a pleasure. And I just think we're like-minded enough. We're working towards similar goals. And again, just being able to inspire each other to keep this work going. I did appreciate really quick though, Krystal, just that self-care moment. It is so important in this space to make sure that, we're taking a moment to take care of ourselves, pat ourselves on the back. Because again, sometimes it can be thankless work, but I'm personally thanking y'all for being inspiring to us and doing everything that you do and for working with us. And I'm so excited, to continue that collaboration and hopefully just keep the work going.
Thank y'all so much for the opportunity. We are humbled. We are delighted. This last session was awesome. And, I tell people, when you partnered with us one time, you stuck with us.
As soon as that opportunity came up, I texted Shazak and I said, we need to bring Tankproof back out here. Let's do this. And so we are so excited and so thankful for you all. It's the impact of our session in April is continuing to ooze. Probably could have picked a better word there. It's continuing to infiltrate throughout the community, and we appreciate it. And there are so many families that appreciate it. So yeah, thank you all for your incredible work. We love your social media too. It is beautiful.
It's not just us. It's people like Grace, Thurman, Krystal, Megan, a whole bunch. It's definitely a group effort to kind of make the world of Tankproof go around. And so we're grateful for everybody. We're partnering. We're grateful for y'all. And again, thank y'all so much for y'all time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.